Welcome to Tonetalks. Welcome to Tonetalks. What up, y'all? This Tonetalks in the building. We're gonna have a good discussion today. I'm looking forward to talking about love, talking about life. You know that been an interesting last few weeks. This discussion today, I'm gonna lighten it up a bit. We're gonna talk about intimate relationships. I'm gonna have relationship expert Zoe Williams in here. I'm looking forward to, the Tone Talks family. Zoe Williams just got off his show. I was a guest there. I'm looking forward to all of us having this discussion. Topic of the day is invisible relationship, invisible wealth. So what does that mean? What am I saying? What am I talking about when I say invisible relationship, invisible wealth? I'm talking about this in context of general America, but millennials, but particularly I'm talking about this in context of black people. What we see, we've talked about the wealth data ad nauseum. What we see as a result of that lack of wealth data is we ain't really fixing the dreams. We just running in place. And what I want to do today is have the discussion and talk to y'all a little bit. I'm gonna wait for people to fall in the chat. When I say the chat, I'm talking about YouTube. YouTube, we're gonna have probably about 2,000 people in there. We're gonna have millions listening on Dash Radio, Dash Talk X, and we're gonna have this discussion about black love. Y'all ready? So, we got relationship expert Zoe Williams. Shout out to him. He has his new book. We're gonna let him talk about that for a second. I did the foreword in it. It's powerful. Holograms and holographics. Zoe, you wanna say what's up to the audience?
Yeah. What's happening? I'm here. What's cracking? How y'all doing?
Everybody doing all right. We doing the relationship topic of invisible relationship, invisible wealth. What I'm seeing right now is we've talked about, in LA, the middle black family has $200 liquid. In Boston, the middle black family has $8 liquid, and liquid meaning cash and anything you can use to buy some food. Miami, it came out like 2 weeks ago, it's $11 liquid. That's not enough to be a family, but that's wealth. So we living on income, and we have this idea about income, and we gonna get into it. And what we talk about is we talk about it like we out here and we want $100,000 mate, and we gonna be $100,000 household, and that's just our beginning. We gonna be an empire, but we don't understand the reality of what does our race look like from the Bureau of Labor. We ain't gotta guess no more. We can find out if we just talking in fantasy. We got mates that are working 10 and 12 hours and driving an hour and a half each way. They call that super commuting. Are you a super commuter? So what do I mean? You get up at about 5:30 to get ready for work. You spend an hour getting ready for work. 6:30 you ready to go to work because you gotta be there at 8. You gotta be there at 8. They finna have you at work all the way from 8 to about 7. Then you get back on the freeway and you get home about 9. And then you want to fit a relationship in about an hour and a half while y'all sit up and watch Housewives together or one of them Atlanta shows that don't make no sense. That's y'all relationship. Ain't no politics, ain't no intimacy, damn near ain't no love. We talking about it today. Come on now. Invisible relationship, invisible wealth. I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say. I'll open up the phone lines later. Zoe, what you think about this thing before I get into the questions?
It reminds me of Martin Luther King, MLK, when he spoke on thinghood. In order to marginalize something, you have to turn it into a thing. And the moment, black people became chattel, right? They were a thing, something not to be regarded or respected or, acknowledged. And being a thing is, in my opinion, synonymous with being invisible a little bit, because economic slavery has made us into, these invisible people who are trying to achieve something that really wasn't designed for us.
Ghost.
Yeah. So now things are in pursuit of things so that they can assign a meaning to themselves. The culture, slavery, the history has called you a thing. Now you're in pursuit of things in order to gain a meaning, a definition. And that's the thing that I see the most. It's a sad situation, but that's where we are.
Let's talk about it. I'm gonna give y'all the question. Y'all know that's how we do it. Before I say that, what we need to start understanding is a lot of us, almost every person we know, is negative wealth.
Right.
College or not. College might actually increase the potential because of student debt.
Right.
I don't want to hear nothing about good debt and bad debt and all that.
Right.
I'm talking about everybody you know that's 40. If they don't got a boomer hook, which is a boomer that's propping them up
right
with wealth, then they probably negative.
Right.
We can't be a race of negative people, particularly after college, and be talking about no communities. Let alone be talking about building. We always talking about building.
Right.
But we don't talk about the blocks you need to build. Part of what we've been dealing with is pushing for a black agenda and reparations because we don't have the blocks to build. We just got a lot of people who think they know how to build. If I gave y'all the tools to build right now, you ain't never seen a block before. So we look at this thing and you might have a black family or two and they both went to UCLA and they got 4,000 in the bank, but they negative. And I think for a lot of us, that's hard to deal with. Let's deal with the questions. Number one, are our relationships invisible, but we act like they are real until confronted with their invisibility? Let's talk about it. Number two, are our dating patterns as a result of the lack of resource needed for American relationships? Do we make these patterns come right out of it? Let me give you 3 prompts to kind of think about as we go through this show. Home girls over husbands. I'm gonna just sit that out there.
Let's go.
Mothers over wives. How many little baby men children are out there always crying to his mama because you gonna tell him the truth about get your old ass off them video games. Leftovers after dealing with somebody else's children. I'm just talking real. Like, I'm gonna give you the extra time. I love my kids so much and I want a relationship, but you're gonna have to just take the scraps of my life. You know, after I super commute and do all the work that I gotta do for this company and give my time to my kids, whatever 3 minutes I got left, that's for us to build a relationship at 38 on, at 42 on. I don't really understand what that means in terms of the quality of our relationship, the rooting it's gonna have. But I want it to look like we've been together since we was 15.
Wow.
Let's get it. Last question. It's not gonna be a lot of questions tonight. It's just gonna be about 3. Are we living on the best case scenario that's based on bad numbers? You'll understand that by the time we get to the end, meaning we just gonna project what will happen if our tax business that we gonna start together works out and the feds don't come. We just gonna project what will happen if your organic cookie business that's in Zoe's book works out and you make $1 million and become the next Miss Fields.
Right.
Understand, I give you the data, that's all I can do. Did a report, you can get it. What we get wrong about closing the racial wealth gap, what we know is that 90% of black businesses have no employees other than the original starting person. 95% of black female businesses have no employees. That is not a sign of stick with it. It's a sign of lack of capital and also the fact that these aren't really businesses. A lot of times they're acts of desperation because you can't find a regular job. That's what's going on. So we dealing with the invisible relationship, invisible wealth, and what it means. Book comes out called Dream Hoarders last year. What it says is that you got to be in the top 20% of America to access the American dream. This is the problem. Before Tonetalks, nobody really knew that 20% is all white folk. I say it again, to be in the top 20% in wealth level, you need to be worth about 800,000. 750, 700,000 worth. That means after you, not you live in a house that you scrape together and killing yourself, that's worth 700,000. No, your net worth is 700,000 when you take your debts from your assets. There might be 500,000 black families, primarily boomers, some immigrants that are above that level. ADOS millennials and Gen Xers, nearly none. So what do we do in a world that requires wealth? Are we gonna just be fantastical? Are we just gonna make it all up? Because that's what I see right now. Divorce rate is at 75-80%. First time marriages for black females, 70-something% for black men. We getting together in a room, sitting Indian style, doing pity pat, talking about what we gonna be, and we 36 years old. When we gonna talk about the fact that your grandmama, your mama, my grandmama, my mama ain't leaving us nothing, but they expecting us to leave them everything? And what that means in terms of the invisibility of our ability to have relationship. ADOS up in here. Shout out to the ADOS fam. I see y'all in there. So as we go through this first question, I'm gonna bring it to Zoe, then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna hit it with some numbers. Then I'm gonna open the lines. So let me give you the phone line right now, 323-230-4610, Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. Shout out to Dash family. Thank you again, Zoe. We doing it in here.
Thank you, brother.
So let's go to that first question. Are our relationships invisible, but we act like they are real until confronted with their invisibility? When I say that to you, I'm saying to you, we both know that my parents ain't gonna leave me nothing but problems.
Mm-hmm.
We both know that you drive too much for us to have a relationship. But what I'm gonna do is say to you, we can work through that. But then when it's no time, I'm gonna be frustrated with you as the man.
Right.
What you tell me is it don't matter, baby, what your parents and what everybody else have.
Right.
But then when your mama keep coming to our house and going in our refrigerator, you mad.
Right. Well, that's what generational wealth is about. Generational wealth in a family allowed us to be able to deal with the problems of the extended family. But if you don't have it, that doesn't mean those people who see you as doing better than they are won't still keep coming to you.
Come on.
They're going to keep coming to you because we family, right?
Come on.
But if we don't have a conversation about where we are as a family, as it pertains to generational wealth, as it pertains to debt, as it pertains to, potential family members who may be problematic moving forward. Where is Lil Ray Ray gonna live when he get out?
We ain't gonna talk about till he on our doorstep.
Until he on the doorstep.
Till he on the doorstep.
Right.
But when he on the doorstep, we gonna make it so immediate.
Right.
Your rational response don't make no sense.
Right. Let's take him in.
No, your rational response might be he can't stay here because he was in for armed robbery.
Right.
Where he gonna go then? Sounds a lot more rational.
Yeah. So these are the conversations that need to be had beforehand. But a lot of times people don't like tough conversations beforehand because they feel like those tough conversations derail the forward progress of the feel-good relationship, especially in the beginning 18 months of that relationship, what they call the honeymoon period. But the reality of it is we got to have tough conversations. And I ain't going to say on the first date, but we got to have tough conversations soon about lineage, about legacy, about resources, about what we have, where we are. I mean,
not soon. We needed to have them yesterday.
But to think about it. Think about finding out that you with somebody and then, they got child support issues after the fact. But
let's deal with that. I was going to bring this up on your show.
Yeah.
What we see is that a young woman can meet a man.
Mm-hmm.
And have more expectation for this man 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year into a relationship than she got for her daddy that's fresh out.
Right.
I'm saying that a young man can have more expectation for a woman to cook when your mama ain't never made you no meals.
Right.
I'm saying to you that what we doing is we hiding all of our fantastical ideas of what we want inside of invisible relationships, then being mad when they fall out the bottom. Like Flintstone cars.
And I would say hiding in the sense of your intent. But I would also say compensating for what you didn't get.
Come on.
Right? So yeah, you hiding because you're hiding the intent behind, yo, I'm really compensating because my mama didn't cook, which is why I have this expectation of you to cook.
I expect 3 meals.
Right.
Meatloaf on Wednesday. If I don't get meatloaf
Right.
on Wednesday, then this relationship is not working.
Right. Right.
Crazy.
And you're not being honest that you created a relationship standard and coping mechanism that you are silently enforcing your partner to date instead of you reconciling it.
Ladies, how many of y'all in there could cook? I'm not talking about no rice or no spaghetti. How many of y'all can throw down with some seasoning? I'm just saying. And so, like, let's dig into this. Number one is we dealing with this invisibility. What do you mean, Tone? What's invisibility? Well, there was a new breakdown of a budget that came out on CNBC just 2 days ago. I shared it on my Twitter. I'll pull it up on the final video. This budget, what it shows is not just what you break down with $500,000 in income, because it don't need to be income if you got inheritance.
Right.
It actually could be a lot less because it's not 40% tax. Come on.
Right.
Somebody leave you that $1 million house. That's your put in. That's your 125 for the next 10 years.
Right.
But let's just talk about it in terms of income. A lot of people tried to share it. Bomani Jones and people, I've seen a couple people try to share it, but they didn't understand the context. Tone gonna give you the context. Let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. On this budget, what it showed is this family that made $500,000, and that's upper middle class in America. We're not dealing with the gifts and the inheritance. Again, this family was a white family. Let's talk about it. Only 1% of black families make more than $500,000. Mm-hmm. What we see is that this budget has all of the components of being American. Again, only 1% of black families make more than $500,000. Mm. They had $36,000 for the 401k off the top. They had their 40% tax. I mean, we paying taxes regularly like we should. Mm. They had $12,000 for the kids' lessons. They had $24,000 for the food. They had $10,000 for miscellaneous. So, what you think?
First off, when you say the median family, black family in Los Angeles is what, 1,700? Or is it 200?
That's national. Middle black family nationally, when you take out the TV and the cars and the depreciating assets that shouldn't count, they were $1,700. But the liquid wealth is what really tells you. It's $200 liquid in LA, native black family, $8 in Boston, $11 in Miami. What you see is that family wants all of these components. Understand that they had $2,500 for their $3 million policy in this 500K. Understand that they had everything accounted for. Mm-hmm. See, this is what we saw. What we saw on their budget is everything is accounted for.
Right.
They have the college fund accounted for.
Right.
How many of y'all in the chat willing to get honest and talk about being late on your student loans right now while you tried to buy a house?
But this is why I want to come back to that. Liquid, it's 200 in LA. And LA
is the best.
Now peep
what's
game.
In Louisiana?
Now peep game.
50 Cent.
Now peep game. For that family, that white family that got $500,000, they've got $10,000
miscellaneous
in the miscellaneous category. You already know what miscellaneous means. It's money for some unspecified things. They've got $10K for unspecified needs. Whereas the top family, the middle black family in Los Angeles, liquid, has 200.
They had 2 kids and they had $42K for childcare.
Come on, man.
That's $4,001. That ain't even topping off. That's just like, if you want to see, we made a lot of dreams and goals and we didn't put no numbers on them. There's numbers that go with these dreams, and those dreams that you have probably are in the top 15. That means that with those dreams, you need inheritance that's in the top 15 and wealth coming in that's in the top 15. How can you do that if the Bureau of Labor tells you that let's talk about black folks. We don't need to guess. The Bureau of Labor has the numbers and they told us 60% of black households make less than $37,000 together. 60%.
Wow.
80% make less than $60,000 together.
Wow.
Only 5% make more than 112, and we're not even dealing with the fact that that's probably likely boomers that didn't retire, immigrants, and if it is a young millennial, they got so much student debt that they really back to the 60. You don't see what I mean? You make 112, they take out 40% for taxes, 35%. Then you go around and pay $12,000 or $14,000 for student loans. So you ain't really at 112.
And this
on net.
Man, this just takes me back to the concept that poverty and the wealth gap and wealth calcification, especially in the black community, makes our partners disposable.
Come on.
We can throw somebody away because they haven't or they haven't gotten their quote unquote stuff together, but not ever really looking. Even MLK mentioned it's unfair to ask the black man to pull himself up by the bootstraps when he is in fact bootless.
But let's deal with
design.
When did MLK come out? He came out before what? Before hip hop?
Before hip hop?
Before the NBA?
Right.
Before the Cosby Show?
Before all of that.
Right?
Yes.
When we look at the Cosby Show, but for those people that say, I don't want the 500,000, I don't need that tone, I don't need 500,000. But then you got all these components that are in the budget.
Right.
For the 500,000. We gonna talk about it.
But see,
but
to
let me say one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
What you doing is you missing. So you got all the stuff that's in the $500,000 budget. You just don't pay everything right. So that's how you make it all work. But in addition, understand this: only 1% of black families make more than 500. So what was the Cosby Show doing on TV? We know the numbers. Everybody said, well,
in the first place, right?
Because it was showing like a middle family.
Right.
It's showing a family in the top 1%. Just like Blackish. But see, what has happened is that our relationships are invisible because we define them through extreme aberrations, and we don't got to guess no more. We know the numbers. See, understand this too. There's 40 million blacks, but there's only 16 million workers. Because some of them are children, some of them are old, and a lot of them are unemployed. So out of the 16 million workers, sometimes households of 2, sometimes households of 1, maybe even a household of 3. We got 1% that make 500,000. This idea of grandeur that we've created makes no sense. Understand also that our group largely is inheritless. What do I mean? Top 5% of black families worth $350 or more. Only 340,000 black families worth $1 million or more. 15% of white families, 83 million homes, 13-something million are worth more than $1 million. $1 million are worth more than $10 million.
More than 10.
So what happens is when they make $500,000, that ain't even the money.
That ain't even the real bread.
You got a whole nother set of gifts that come from the grandmama straight to them off the books and to the children. That's who you're sending your kid to. 323-230-4610. Call in. Let's take the first caller of the night. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Lucretia. I'm calling from Chicago. Hey.
Hey, what's up, Lucretia? Give us your take on this topic.
Well, first of all, I think it's very important the work that you're doing, Tone. I listened to you in the vet. I've called in. I was the one who called in about the whole shirts and all that other stuff on the vet show a while back. But in terms of this, I feel like, first of all, I'm 29, and I've been dating my boyfriend for like 5 years, and like we don't have the money to get married. We can't afford it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel this on a personal level, and my father is locked up currently, and I have 2 brothers locked up, and they don't have any place to go. So these are things that, like, my family needs to think about. And I feel like what you've been getting at is just you've been, putting the politics and the economy into perspective for our personal lives. And I want to say that nobody else is doing that. Like, black people are leaving from the church, and so I was just going to ask you and Zoe, like, who do you think are the stewards of black relationships? Like, where can we go to get on track? You know what I'm saying? Like, for this advice. Because I don't think the church has the political, economic perspective that you're giving.
You here?
I was about to say, you're right here with us. I mean, the relationship dismount, how to stick the landing when exiting a toxic relationship.
That's your first book.
That's my second book. The third book, The Holographic Relationship. Again, what Tone and I do in a synergetic kind of fashion is Tone brings the economic data. the information about where we are socially. I bring the flip side of that, which is the spiritual purpose for a relationship. We live in a capitalistic society that makes relationships as competitive to be in as going to get a job. And what happens is the spiritual aspect gets marginalized because we are living in a time of great wealth calcification. So if I attract a particular person into my life who is there to reflect a portion of myself back to me that will help me evolve as a person, but I can't see it because he doesn't fit my standards that were created from a system that was built on bootstrapism.
Let me jump in right here.
Yes.
Let me jump in right here. I just seen somebody come through with almost a paragraph of a statement that ain't made no sense. It said boomers have wealth because they were savers and they worked in different industries. That's partially true, but what they were is lucky. Let me tell you what I mean. Let me tell you what
The
I mean.
timing, yeah.
I've shown this chart and I'm going to show it in the final graph. We live in probably the most wealth calcified time in the modern history in America right now. And we black in the middle of it. What you see is that during the Depression, the bottom 90 and the top 0.1 had the same amount of wealth, which means the bottom 90 had 18% of all the family wealth, and the top 0.1 had 18. That means that it's horribly unfair. Over the course of years, because of programs, from the New Deal to affirmative action, you saw by 1980 that the bottom 90 had 40% of the wealth. 40. And the top 0.1 only had 7. That's where your grandmama house come from. Yeah, she went to the factory every day, and yeah, she saved, but there was an environment that allowed her to save. Understand, there was no pressure for her to be a super consumer. Understand that she was able to save because as a result of government, she was put in a position where her money could work for her. Let's talk about what's happened since then.
That's timing.
Deregulation, tax reform. Let's talk about it. Right now, what you see is that the bottom 90 and the top 0.1 have the same amount of wealth again, 22%. Our race is in the bottom half of the bottom 90. Half of our race has no wealth, worth less than $1 combined. Within race, the top 10% of our race has almost all of our little 2.6% of the wealth, meaning black America has 2.6% of America's wealth, and the top 10% of families have almost 75% of that. That's like 1.7% of it. We living on nothing, but we got the dreams. Hold on, hallelujah. We got the dreams like we living on clouds and stars and reparations. Anything you want to say? Anything else to the audience, caller?
Yes, I want to say, Tone, that I really feel like it's very important the work that you're doing in terms of the putting the black family into perspective. And I think that we need to get these politicians and all of these folks to talk about that too. Like, we need to bring back this conversation around the state of the black family. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Look here, 323-230-4610 -radio-talkx. We in the chat. We got about 1,200 in there. Please use the super chat. Support this channel. Thank you so much. And Tonetalks.org as well to support if you want to use PayPal. This is the thing. This is the thing that I'm saying. Y'all seen what happened to Clyburn, highest ranking congressman. ADOS is on. He tried to get in there. My man said get the check, but before he said get the check, he said a lot of stuff to him. Check out my Twitter. ADOS, went up and did journalism. He done said it's impossible for us to get reparations. You ain't got the imagination to tell us impossible. I just talked to William Darity Jr., the leading economist in the area today. MIT. You gonna listen to Clyburn or what I'm about to tell you? It's not impossible because it might not even have to come from taxes. Understand this. First of all, it's more than America that owes us. Understand this. Second of all, that it don't matter. It's a debt. Understand this. Third of all, this is the wealthiest country in the world. How do you know, Clyburn? You don't know. You don't know what's possible. That's why we need to get you up out of there. Let's take the next caller tonight. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Mel. I'm calling from Charlotte.
Mel, I'm gonna ask you a question now. I'm coming to another question. Are our dating patterns as a result of the lack of resource needed for American relationships. So we talked about it. You look at that $500,000 budget, it got all the components of somebody that went to college, what they want. You know, they want all the stability. You realize that 60% almost of black families are living without inheritance, trying to help grandma, and they got $37,000 coming into the house. That means, real talk, everybody living on programs. What do I mean? I'm not talking Section 8 right now, or even food stamps. We got a considerable chunk on that. But I'm talking about like college prep programs and fast food and college waivers for the application fee and a whole bunch of programs. And so what I see is that our relationships are casted invisibly in the shadow, kind of like that movie Us from Jordan Peele, if it was done better, in the shadow of white relationships. What do you think?
Tone, you hit the nail right on the head, man. And Zoe and Tone, I appreciate y'all. And to answer that question, you're right. And the point that you said that you had before, man, they was lucky. And with us, everybody say they want a husband. Everybody say they want a wife. No, you want an employee. But you don't even understand the tools you need to even gain this life that you say you want. We're living in the place now where it's all about survival. Everybody's using each other to get a means to an end. And see, it's so easy to bullshit and watch Housewives.
That's our relationship. We sit up and watch Housewives together, and then a little basketball, and then we giggle. We giggle about Ja Rule and the little island documentary he did, and then we go to sleep. We ain't did no politics. We ain't did no lineage. We ain't did no work. We ain't in no relationship. What we in is some kid stuff. So look, caller. I appreciate you calling in. I'm trying to get as many people in here as possible. Thank you so much for the support. Look here. Let's take one more caller because I'm going to ask them a question. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Tone, this is Andre from Savannah, Georgia.
What up? Look, man. Are the girls... Look, I'm going to run two down for you and just give me your thoughts. Homegirls over husbands, mothers over wives. Let's start off with homegirls over husbands. Actually, I'm going to give you homegirls over husbands, and then I'm going to throw mothers over wives to Zoe. But let me frame it. Homegirls over husbands is this new thing that we see. You go to the movies, who you there with, homegirls? You go to Tahiti because they can't afford it, they too broke. Who you there with? Who you sharing a bed with in Tahiti? I'm saying to you, what we've come to is this reality after super commuting, after work, after children from another man. I'm gonna choose my homegirl over a husband or a mate or whatever because she been my homegirl since we was in college. Wasn't enough black men for you to choose a mate then, so your foundational relationships became homegirls. But now you want to light switch into a relationship. You want to flip it and the switch ain't turning. So let's just keep it dark and stay with these homegirls. What you think, caller?
That sounds quite pitiful if you ask me.
Do you think that's going on? What's up?
It is going on, but the problem is, the thing is, I think women are they deal in such dimensions of what they want from a man in a relationship. And what we pay attention to is the foundation, which should be, the spiritual base. But as men, we have to, we can't afford to do the duties that we used to do as our grandfathers did. But the problem is, women are not really being decisive where their priorities lie.
Young lady said 2 paychecks are better than one in the chat. Let me say this. I recommend this book to y'all.
I was going to make a suggestion, though.
Let me just say one thing. I want to hear your suggestion. Go read The 2-Income Trap, everybody. Elizabeth Warren, who's running for president, wrote that book. What it talks about is how they tricked women into working. Essentially, they just made everything twice as expensive, and then they had women go work. Women always worked, and I'm talking about what the book says, not my opinion. But that used to be savings for the house. So the 2-income trap, after she says 2 incomes was a trap to make us get up out of the house and have to pay for that daycare. Can you give me your suggestion? Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say this. There was one statistic or one article I heard where black people, African Americans, spend at least $6 billion annually giving it to the black church. if we redirected those finances into us and our communities, would that help our situation?
Our problem right now, when I give you those kind of numbers on income, is not a matter of redirecting funds. Our problem right now is that we don't have funds. I'm giving you my answer. I don't believe that fundamentally ignoring the black church is the answer. Now, reformatting the black church is part of what we need, because we need more community. What's happening right now is that these jobs are asking too much of you. If you drive an hour and a half for work, that job is asking too much of you. I'm understanding that you have to do that to live, but I'm saying to you, that's super commuting. If you work in 9 and 10 hours and you only bringing home 45,000 or 50,000 after that, you killing yourself and burning yourself out. I'm saying right now we have an income problem over an actual problem of how we spend our money, because that allows us to take blame instead of these corporatists. Now, let me come to Zoe. Zoe, I'm coming to you on mothers over wives. What we see with these men. Let's talk about the men. Let's not just talk about the women. You got too many videos. How many Maddens you gonna get, bro? How many times you gonna learn the new players on Madden? I'll tell you, as a person, you know, in my late 30s, I haven't had a video game since I was 20. I haven't had a video game since I was 20. I'm not saying in and of itself that watching LeBron James and the Lakers isn't something, but we here to do politics. Now, your mama gonna tell you, you always my son, because she sees you through her own success and failures. But your wife gonna tell you, nigga, put them video games away. So we gonna choose who? Our mothers over our wives. Zoe, what do you see going on with black men?
If you choose your mother over your wife, then she must have been alone when she raised you.
Come on. It's a lot, 70% out of wedlock married babies.
You understand? She must have been alone when she raised you.
Come on.
Now, at the end of the day, when a man takes a woman, he takes a partner, someone who's going to help him, you know, see the world in a different way. And I keep telling people this, man, relationship is way more spiritual than it is social. But because of the type of society we live in, we live in a transactional, capitalist, corporate society. So that takes up the majority of our time when we're relating. This is why most relationships are fear-based relationships. You may not call them fear-based. You'll say, no, trust is what I'm after. Well, trust is just another form of fear, because a person has to behave a certain way, act a certain way, stay in line, or next thing you know, I've lost trust in you. Your behavior speaks louder than your words. Okay, great. But you not even tuned into the intention behind the behavior. So
can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you think it is possible for us as black men to practice capitalism and still have the nobility and reverence for our women if we bring that into our relationship?
Not in this society as it is currently constructed ideologically.
And the direction it's going.
Yes, the direction that it's going. You have to look at the way America, first off, you live in a time where you hear people say love ain't enough. Listen, you live in a time where love is intangible.
Tell them about toxic ambition.
Right. You live in a time where everything has to be tangible. So now a man's drive is more important than his capacity to love you.
How many people in the chat? How many people in the chat saw Fences? I loved it. I love Fences, the movie. Y'all always think that I'm bad hard on movies. I love Bill Street Can Talk, and I love Fences. The reason why I love Fences, because he said, you got to choose between this roof and this TV. He said, you got to choose between this roof and this TV. What you had is a world where black people had black communities, and those black communities were built on black people loving each other. What we have now is a world that pushes us apart because we super commuting, and we working for 10 hours, and we not telling the job we're living to work instead of working to live. See, our parents worked to live, meaning they did their 40 hours, get me home so I can actually live. What we doing is living to work. So what I'm gonna wear tomorrow at work? At work.
So I was going to ask you one last question. Based on everything you just said, right? So basically, in so many words, you're saying capitalism, which is what we are, the system we're under, and the reverence we're supposed to have for our women and each other is a contradiction in frequency.
Again, to simplify what you just said, capitalism takes up mental, spiritual, and emotional bandwidth. The real focus for intimate relationship is unraveling the reflection that's coming back from your partner. You ain't even got time to see what you really look like when she reflects it back to you.
How can you do it? You sleepy.
You on the damn hamster wheel of life in this capitalistic society.
You think the people in Fences went on vacation to Tahiti? I don't think so. Look, caller, thank you so much for calling. Look. Let me say this. Zoe, I'm going to come to you for this one. Actually, let me take a caller. You know,
I got you.
Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Daniel. I'm calling from Virginia.
All right, so look here. We see these relationships, men and women. Everybody, when you get into your mid-30s, got leftover children. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's life. People get older and they have kids.
Hey, Tone Talk.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm an old guy.
How old are you?
Huh? I'm 76.
Oh, just give me your opinion.
Come on in here, brother.
Just say what you want to say when you're 76 years old. Go ahead.
I support your the reparations. I'm wholehearted for that.
Okay.
Because I'm coming from the 60s, right?
Okay.
I was young like you guys. Associated with Malcolm X. I was in the military at that time, in the height of the civil rights movement, right? So we most of the younger guys back then, we liked the Malcolm X because self-help, self-defense.
You got to keep it. Caller. You got to keep it focused because we're doing a show on invisible.
Okay, what I'm getting to is we were sold out in the 60s. You understand what I mean?
What do you explain that for the audience?
When we got welfare, when we took integration, all of us didn't want integration. We lost control of our communities.
Powerful.
We have no more communities now. And right now don't have to live in a ghetto, but I do. Here in Huntersville. I got two young girls next door. 14, 15, one just had a baby, the other one is pregnant.
How old?
This is what you have.
How old are they?
14 and 15.
One is 14, one is 15.
I had to make sure the audience heard it. Go ahead.
And you're never going to get out this vicious cycle because they're going to have, I know a lot of them here. And they have babies by 2 or 3 different men before they're 25. So who's going to marry them? You see, I was just listening at your conversation. You were talking to a lot of young guys, and a lot of them will tell you they can't have a relationship with them.
Yeah, man.
So my question to you is, until you change that, you're not going to have a healthy relation among black men and women because there are too few men, good men, for the good women out there.
All right, let me answer that offline. Thank you so much for calling. Look, let me say this. I think we try to look at the symptoms instead of the root.
Right.
What we say is, well, they having babies at 14. I don't think that we having mass babies at 14. Let me say that first.
Right.
I had to see the data on that.
Right.
But what we are seeing is that the system is saying we want the sisters. We want to let the sisters go to college.
Right.
We want to let the sisters get a job. And what we see the system also saying is putting more black men in prison than all women on the planet. And we not rioting. What we also are seeing is that we as a group are allowing our relationships to be cast in an invisibility, but want all of the reality like it ain't an invisible best friend. So what I'm saying to you, I guess, is that this isn't just about good and bad. See, that's that respectability again. Mm-hmm. Good black men and bad black men. This is about blackness as a whole.
Right.
And I feel like until we fix the root problem, which is that we don't have enough wealth to be functionally black, where we don't need to deal with good and bad, we don't get no answers. What you thinking, though?
Poverty is an extension and an appendage of racism. We have to remember that. So when we start doing a little better and we find ourselves using the talking points of white supremacy, right? You need to pull yourself up. You need to work. You need to do this. You got to understand you don't get nowhere in this society unless a door is open for you. Now, you got to ask the question, if I'm in an invisible relationship because of systemic poverty, then who do I want to be seen by?
Come on.
If I want to become visible, who do I want to see me?
If my relationships are invisible, how my hologram look?
Exactly.
How does my reflection look if I'm in nothing but invisible relationships?
Come on now.
And so I come to you, Zoe, with this last question. Are we living on the best case scenario that's based on bad numbers? I would say yes. I would say basically what we see is something that we kind of saw in the last show, where when I ask you, what does a good man, quote unquote, have to make, you kind of just don't have a number. But you got all the dreams that come from a real number.
Right.
When I ask you about the reality of what having no inheritance will mean in terms of Black America going forward, you look at me like I'm negative. When I tell you that there's a report that comes out that says by 2053, the black family will be worth zero because of the politics that have been done. You don't want to hear that. But you living on the cookie business, which is in your book, Holographic Relationship. You living on the bikini business. You living on you gonna be a real estate agent.
Shea butter.
But you shea butter business. Will and Jada couldn't even do it well.
Right.
They had to get up out of that cream business. But I ask you, are we basing this on bad numbers? And I say, yeah, because again, 60% of black families, less than 37 income, no inheritance, a lot of money going out though, because it's not just not getting money inherited to you. You also gonna have to give some of that 37 to your mama.
But that's what I'm saying. Poverty is so bad that the core essence of what made you special as black people, as time moves on, becomes more and more intangible. As time moves on, the thing that made you special, and that was your camaraderie, that was your unity, that was your creativity, that was your passion, your love, your connection to God, your connection to spirituality, the rhythm that makes the child move, all of that is going away. It's becoming intangible. It's becoming robotic. You got to do it on cue. You got to do it for a check. You can't, do you see what I'm saying? The quality of you is becoming intangible.
Come on, Zoe. Look, Zoe, I wanted to leave a little bit of time, a few minutes here. I know you got the new book. I did the foreword, Holographic Relationship.
The foreword was fire.
Can you? Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of reality in that. So, can you tell them where to pick it up and a couple words about it?
Really quickly, the holographic relationship is a concept that builds off of a concept introduced in my second book, The Relationship Dismount: How to Stick the Landing When Exiting a Toxic Relationship. The Relationship Dismount is available on Amazon in 3 different formats: paperback, Audible, and Kindle. The holographic relationship just came out Valentine's Day. It picks up off of that. You know, a hologram is something that records information. The word hologram, holos, and gramma means whole writing. And what I explain in that book is your whole story, your whole relationship experience is written all over you. And no matter how hard you try to put your best foot forward, or you do as Carl Jung said, I'm gonna put on this mask, all of you shows up in the relationship to be reflected back to you. You can get a copy of the book at IamZoeWilliams.com. If you want a paperback version of it, that's IamZoeWilliams.com, or you can get the Kindle version.
Let me say this. Invisible relationships can't produce real results. No. What I'm saying to you today is that Black America has to get real with itself. You have to understand that when we say we talking about a black agenda and reparations, this ain't just saying it just for the sake. It's saying it because this is the boat that we got to get on, because we need wealth to be here, and income is not enough anymore.
Right.
You have to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's insane.
Right.
Who wants to kill themselves that way?
Right.
I'm saying to you today that invisible relationships, invisible wealth, invisible people. See, I didn't even have that in the title. We can't walk around here and be invisible people, expect community. You can't be mad at nothing that comes out of invisibility. And so what I'm trying to do is get you to talk about, is your relationship built on nothing at all? Do y'all really sit down and talk about lineage, about politics, about church? Do y'all sit down and talk about wealth? Or do y'all avoid all those components and just talk about basketball and the housewives? The easy stuff. And so here we are, Black America, trying to move forward, trying to make changes. We gonna be here every Friday. Tone Talks, Zoe Williams. Tune into his show right before mine's. Again, Tonetalks.org to subscribe and donate. Please share this video. I'll see y'all next week. Thank you for tuning in to Tone Talks. Tone Talks brings to you the difference between black wealth and white wealth explained in less than 2 minutes. In America, we think that we understand race, wealth, and how the two intertwine. We believe in a sharing of wealth among the races that largely does not exist. The truth is, by the data, there are really hardly any blacks that are millionaires in the United States, and whites largely own almost all of the personal wealth in the country. According to demos.org, white America owns 90% of the national wealth, with the top 50% of white families holding 88% of all of America's personal wealth in their bank accounts. Despite having billionaire Oprah Winfrey, of the 14 million black families, less than a few 100,000 of these households are worth more than $1 million, and that number is shrinking. While at the same time, over 8.5 million white families are worth more than $1 million. Adding to this, almost all of the 540 American billionaires are white as well. In fact, according to a report by Credit Suisse, to be in the top 5% of black families, you only need to be worth $356,000, including your house. All while just the top few hundred white American families are worth more than all of black America combined. Subscribe to learn more at tonetalks.org.